Ladies and gentlemen, what am I famous for? You might think I'm famous for my devilish good looks or my signature sense of humor. Some of you might not think I'm famous at all, and others may be wondering, wow, this is the first video I've watched from this guy ever. He's so arrogant. All of those things may or may not be true, but I am famous for one thing, and one thing only. It is screaming about sacrificing the rook. The rook is a chess piece. It resembles a castle, and each side starts with two of them in the corners of the board. The rook is worth 5 points. It's somewhere between a knight and a bishop and a queen. And sacrificing it can sometimes lead to some very nice things. And the game that I'm going to show you today encapsulates the art and the culture of sacrificing not just one, but 2 rooks in one game. You see, this game was played a couple of days ago at a tournament in Europe, and the competitors are Daniel Darda, who is the #1 ranked player in Belgium, and he's only 18 years of age, and Shahryar Mamedyarov, who is in his 30s. He is a long-time top 10 player in the world, and he's rated over 2,700. Now, I have a complaint. Can I just complain about something real quick before we get into this game? Daniel Darda is the highest rated player, the highest ELO player in Belgium, and it's not close. Belgium does not have a strong chess culture. The next youngest grandmaster in Belgium is born in 1994, and then it's a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds. He's a national icon, and he doesn't even have a social media page. Like, I couldn't find a Twitter. Maybe he has an Instagram. Young chess grandmasters who want to build themselves up and develop some sort of following and everything like that, they gotta put themselves out there. That's my complaint. That is my plea to them. People have to be interested in them. Now, having said all of that, Daniel, please take my advice. He starts this game with pawn to d4. d4 is a very good move. It's move 1. I don't even know what we're analyzing. Black responds knight to f6. Knight f6, trying to play either an e6 or a g6 opening. This could lead to a Nimzo Indian. This could lead to a King's Indian or a Grunfeld. Now we have c4. G6 played by Mamedyarov. You'll notice he is either going to play this or this. You have no information. Is he going to play a King's Indian? Is he going to play a Grunfeld? None of that really matters because in this position, white plays h4. So this is a very bold move. This is a massive overcommitment, meaning you're probably not going to castle this way. If you do, then, I mean, the position's really going to have to lock up. Otherwise, your king's going to be open. And in many lines, if black just develops, white will actually in the future just play this move h5. Now, right now, white might not do that because black will take. And this sacrifice of the rook is not particularly good. You do not have the backup to do that. You could play e4 and try to take this, but black is just a little bit too solid. So what white does here with this move h4 is sends a warning shot. This is like, hey, if your knight ever leaves, I'm going to go h5 and I'm going to get some sort of attack. And then taking me is going to be real bad because I'm going to get my rook in there. I'm going to go e4, take the center, boom. Have eyes on that. So it's a very interesting move, and it was played at the top level many years ago. By that I mean like 7 years ago or something like that, but maybe 5 years ago in a game MVL Grishuk from the candidates. In fact, I think it was in 2020. So, you know, listen, 3 years of age is older than like half of the YouTube audience. Bishop to g7, knight c3, and now Mamedyarov plays an interesting move. In this position, black can play like a King's Indian. Black can play c5, like a King's Indian-ish. Black can play the Grunfeld, but this move, again, the knight needs to cover h5. So you really don't want to allow the knight to, right, you don't want that. So Mamedyarov, though, plays a move that I've never seen in my life. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it hasn't really been played, and that move is knight c6. That's a very provocative move. And you'll notice that based on Darda's time usage, he clearly was not ready for the move knight c6. He spends 8 minutes on his 5th move. The idea of knight c6 is simple. You want white to go d5. That's the point. Then you're going to go here. White has to guard this pawn by playing this move, and now black is going to play d6. And if white plays the move f4, black is going to get to the g4 square, and nobody can kick the knight out. So you can't really play f4. You're going to have to develop some other pieces, and black is going to happily live with the knight in the center, which is why knight f3 is played. But Mamedyarov prevents... Excuse me, Darda prevents the knight from going to e5. Mamedyarov does not care. He just puts the knight on b4. So black has just developed his setup without moving any central pawns. White, meanwhile, gets a full center and attacking possibilities on the king side. You would think that he's very happy, right? Now, here, I really don't understand why white did not go e4. Obviously, he did not like that black would get ownership of that square. If you play a3, the knight runs around to c5, and if you try to prevent that, then black suddenly snipes you from the other side of the board. Now, having said that, this is actually not the worst position in the world for white, because you can play h5 and create some sort of attack, but it's difficult to do this and just lose a rook if you don't know what the follow-up is. So, that's that. But Darda plays a move here that I don't really like. He plays a move which is fine, which is pawn to g3, but as you can see from the computer, it's not happy, and he spent 11 minutes on that move, which is how you know, you're in, like, imagine spending 11 minutes at a cafe ordering an item. And I don't mean, like, sitting there talking to your friend and then deciding when the waiter comes. I mean, staring at a menu for 11 minutes. Like, you overthought it. You know what I mean? Like, you should have just gotten something. If you spend 11 minutes ordering something at a cafe, you got something you didn't want to get. You're going to get something and then regret getting it. Does that make sense? Same thing in chess, okay? G3 is a weird move. Like, if you wanted to play G3, you should have just done it in the beginning. If you wanted to play a G3 setup, you should have just played it on the third move. And then black would have went here, and then maybe Mamedyarov would have went D5 or whatever, and, you would have had a position like this, or a position like this. When you play knight c3 and h4, you're trying to attack. Your opponent baits you into being aggressive, and then you follow up with this, like, little G3 move. It's almost as bad as being the #1 ranked player in a country by 1.5 miles and not having social media. Anyway, I digress. Black plays e6. So Mamedyarov spends time for the first time in the game and plays a very provocative, counter-attacking move, just basically saying, look, if this guy's not going to play h5, then I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm going to play e6, and we're going to build up on the e file, and I'm going to play c6 too, like, we're going to crack open the center. Darda kicks the knight out, but we already talked about this. It's actually maybe even better for the knight for black to be on a6 because it'll rotate at the center. It's a very, very obscure position. Darda now plays bishop g2, which makes sense because he just played g3. Mamedyarov now takes in the center, and black here can play, white can play knight takes or pawn takes. Both moves are about the same. The reason that black makes that trade is now the rook gets the entire open file. And after d6, the bishop can come out, and the knight can go to c5. So white played in a very provocative way and tried to be very aggressive, but it's not really working out. Rook e8, and now Darda does castle. And you may remember I told you that castling for white is sort of a thing, right? It's sort of a weird thing because what about, like, why did you go, why, this should be here, but all right, fine, we'll put the pawn on h4. But remember, when you have the pawn here, you're a little weak. You have weaknesses here that they can't really be exploited anytime soon. But anyway, knight c5. Okay, Mamedyarov spends another 2 minutes, puts his knight in the center. He wants to put the knight on e4. That trade will make progress into white's position. And now Darda plays the best move. He plays pawn to d6. That's a very good move. That move severely restricts the black position. It is now much harder for black to develop. If you take with black, I don't actually have to take back. With my queen, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go there. And you're going to say, well, no, you're not, idiot. You should have taken me when you had the chance. Now I'm going to justify this move. And after something like knight takes, I'll even take with the pawn. I don't mind. I'll take with the bishop. I'll take with the pawn. Black's got a bad structure. Suddenly, Daniel Darda is a genius, and I'm an idiot. But he still should get social media. Seriously, you got to promote yourselves, guys. You're the best chess player in an entire country. All right? Nobody knows. Promote yourself. Seriously. Anyway, Mamedyarov plays c6. He had to do something, because if he played a move like b6 to try to get his bishop out this way, I'm going to take, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to put my knight there, and then I'm going to move that knight, and then I'm going to take your rook, and then it's going to get real bad. So, c6. White is better. Okay, white is better because he has a little bit more space here. He's controlling black's position. It's a small advantage, okay? But he has a couple of things going against him, all right? He is down a lot on time. A lot. He's down like 30-something minutes, and his advantage is a little bit, it's obfuscated. Is that a word? Like, it's mysterious and enshrouded by smoke, and it's not very clear. Like, white has an advantage, but how is he going to push it forward? Is he going to go here? Is he going to go here? Some of you are wondering, where is the rook sacrifice, right? Like, where, well, patience. Knight d2. Wow. Okay, so undeveloping a knight. Why did he do that? Well, he probably thought about bishop f4. Clearly, he didn't like this move. I don't know if he didn't like it because of knight h5. I don't know if he didn't like it because it doesn't really do enough and black is just going to develop his... I don't know. But he played knight d2. And the idea of knight d2 could be to bring the knight that way. It could be to play e4. Maybe he wants to play e4. He wants to play b4, e4, f4, e5. Like, you know, in a perfect world, yeah, white could somehow, I don't know, get all these pawns to the center and being... That's why he probably played knight d2. Now, here Mamedyarov plays the best move, which is taking space on the queen side. The amazing thing is he played that move in 2 minutes. Like, the fact, look at Mamedyarov's time management. This dude hates thinking. He didn't think the whole early stage. Thought for 3 minutes on this move. Then he took. He hasn't spent more than like 2 minutes on any of these moves. Look at that. C6. A5. He plays so fast. A5 prevents white from playing b4. You also want to play a4 and clamp down on the light squares. Maybe you're going to play b5 and bishop a6 and rook b8 and basically say, like, look, this pawn's a thorn, but I can't do anything about it. So rook e6. Something weird happens here. Again, Daniel, you know, responding to the play over here. He could have played knight b3 to try to trade the knights, but then black would have moved the knight to the middle, and then this knight wouldn't have had a target, and a4 would have come. So it's a tough position. It's a tough position, you know. Maybe you play rook b1 and try to play b4, but then the guy's going to go a4. I don't know. I'm just glad I have to commentate the game and not actually, you know. Anyway, b3. Okay. Now Mamedyarov says, bro? Who's getting this pawn? And from this point forward, the players begin a very aggressive battle against each other. The players now engage in hand-to-hand combat. Basically, this pawn is very hard to protect. If white plays knight c4, black plays b5. Then you have to move this knight somewhere. If you move the knight to b2, that just looks stupid, and I'm not going to analyze it. If you move the knight to e3, it's still very difficult to defend this pawn, because I will go here, or here, or here. So, clearly Darda saw this move. What did he have in mind? This. What? What? He lost the pawn? No. Actually, it's a very creative move by Darda. #1 ranked player in Belgium. Doesn't just happen overnight. The idea of this move is that the time black spends doing this, it's like being in a very bad parking spot. Getting out is going to be really difficult. And there are moves like bishop to h3, which actually cut off the rook's escape. That rook might have to die somehow. Right? Now, Darda does it this way. He plays knight c4, kicking the rook back. That's 3 moves invested in moving the rook. Nothing else in the black position is moved. Now here comes the bishop. Now Darda has pressure here and pressure here, and he's going to put a rook on the d file, and he's going to play b4, b5, and black still hasn't moved 3 pieces. Can we just address this? Black has played nearly 20 moves in this game. He hasn't touched his queen, his bishop, or his rook. That's 17 points of material that have not been moved. Mamedyarov continues not moving them. He undevelops the bishop to the home square. All of these pieces are on their home squares to guard his knight. That's crazy. Now, Darda attacks the rook. So the rook has to go back again. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 moves. Every piece in Darda's position is playing. The rooks are about to come to the center, and he's going to play b4. But black is a pawn up. What are you going to do about that? Well, Darda saw all the way here, and his idea was b4. And that's actually a very good move, because it's very difficult for black to do something. For instance, if black plays AB, trades the rook, trades the rook, and puts his knight in the center, white is going to go take, bishop g2, and after something like pawn to d5, excuse me, if rook takes, there would have been bishop g2. If this, you can even play something absurd like rook a8. And I mean, listen, I got to tell you, 5 out of 6 pieces on the back ranks, good pressure. Nice position for white. Very difficult to move for black. That was kind of the idea. Now, if the knight just moves without taking, no, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to play knight b6. And you've got a very unpleasant position. It was a good idea. Unfortunately, at this point, Mamedyarov activates the trap card of being 2734, formerly 2800, and he throws a counterpunch. The punch comes in, Mamedyarov slips, slaps it away, and boom, the overhand right, pawn to d5. Mamedyarov is a GothamChess subscriber. The knight is hanging, so he counterattacks the knight and the bishop. But wait a minute. Let's calculate this. If white takes the knight, black takes the bishop. So what if we take the bishop? Then if you take the knight, I will get out. If you take the bishop and then takes, can't I get this? Okay, wait a minute. Bishop takes c8. What is Mamedyarov doing? Queen takes. Remember a while ago I told you that if you're going to castle after playing this move, you're going to have some weaknesses? Yeah, I think a lot of you are looking like queen. This is very scary looking. You got to be really sure that there's something here for white. Now, Darda plays bishop takes c5. And what Darda was probably expecting is bishop takes c5, pawn takes, pawn takes. Now, white is worse, but white is going to cover the infiltration, and then white is probably going to try to win this pawn. And maybe white will survive. No. Bishop takes c8, queen takes c8. By the way, that's a fork. It doesn't work because queen h3, knight g4 is just checkmate. I told you a long time ago, white did this in a way that was very dangerous for his own king. So bishop takes c5. And now, my friends, I would like to reward your 17-minute attention span by showing you a nasty, disgusting sequence of moves. Shahryar Mamedyarov in this position could play bishop takes and go for that endgame. He could go for that endgame, middle, late stage, and just win it up a pawn. But instead of that, Mamedyarov leaves the bishop, he leaves the knight, he leaves everything, and he still plays queen h3. Now, that move makes plenty of sense because the threat is knight g4 and mate. However, did he blunder something? Did Mamedyarov make a mistake? Because white just has to stop knight g4 or the queen going to h2. White could either play knight to e3 or knight to d2, knight f3. And he does just that. That knight was hanging. It is now no longer hanging, and it's going to f3, where it will stop checkmate. Mamedyarov removes the bishop from the board. What just happened? Wait. The threat is mate, but the knight is stopping mate. Well, Mamedyarov saw one detail that was missed by his opponent. And in this position, Mamedyarov sacrificed the rook to e3, one of the most disrespectful rook sacrifices I have ever seen. Rook sacrifices are generally violent. You smash through a position. Not that move, but you smash through. You sacrifice it for a knight to open up the king. You very rarely slide it down the board and it stays alive, but it goes straight through fire. You cannot take this because in this position, I will take with check and then I will take the pawn. I am forking the queen, the knight, and mate. A triple fork of epic proportions. the most powerful piece you have, the second most powerful piece you have, and the square which matters the most. And then if I take this and your rook was here, it would be another fork. But, you know, that's wishful thinking. Rook to e3. And my friends, the other threat of this move is to take the knight, which stops mate. So the only way to survive here is to make sure the king can run. You have to play rook to e1. The idea is that after take, queen h2, that's not a checkmate. And after queen h1, I escape. Where do I escape? e2. So what does black have to do in this position? You go all the way back here, rook to e1. Black has to sacrifice the rook again, leaving it exactly where it is. And white's position is completely defenseless. The threat is renewed. Rook takes f3. Queen h2, and queen to h1. There is absolutely nothing you can do. The only thing you can do with white is to get hit with this move and lose your queen. Queen takes g4, take, and try to survive this position where black feasts on all your pawns and promotes. You will not survive this. And the game ends in one of the most disrespectful ways I have ever seen. Black already put one rook on e3, and now he's going to sacrifice it. In this position, Darda plays queen d3. The idea is very simple. He is losing his queen. That's what he wants. He wants his queen to be captured, and then he wants rook e1, and he wants to defend this position. But instead of that, rook takes d3, pawn takes d3. It seems like the attack has been stopped. But Mamedyarov sacrifices the rook again on the exact same square. It doesn't matter that the queen is gone. The threat is once again rook takes knight, and there is nothing to be done. If you play rook takes, then I take, this is mate, and if you take, then I take, and you go here, and I take, and then I take, and then I take, and then, damn it, I will take literally everything you own. Have you ever seen something like this? This man just put one rook on e3, followed by the winning of the queen, and he still put a rook on e3. Oh, good, oh my god. Maybe it's good Daniel Darda doesn't have social media, but he really should have one after this game. This man just put two rooks on the exact same square in the same game. There's nothing you can do. If you take with the pawn, I take, and you get mated on the next move. King here, that's mate. King here, that's mate. That's mate. Jeez. Daniel Darda resigned in this position. Because I can't imagine getting hit with the exact same rook sacrifice twice in... I mean, that's crazy. Oh my goodness. My friend sent me this game. I was smiling. I was like, that's nasty. That's all I have for you today. I hope this was nice. Now get out of here.